Hello, Nomads, and welcome to the next installment of Eric's Anime Corner. I am your host, Eric Hunt, and I have a very special guest with me today. It is Matt St. Jack from Anime Talk. How are you, Matt?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to get into the episode.
Yeah, if you're watching the video version, there is a video version on YouTube and a podcast version that goes up as well. I am wearing a My Hero Academia shirt, so that is what we are talking about here today. Um, why we, the main thing I want to get across with this show is just pick an anime each month that I love, talk about it, and it's basically as simple as that. Just pretty much gush about what we love. We go over the what it is, why we love it, and who we would recommend it to. So, before we get into that, though, I just want to let Matt introduce his show. For people who don't know, just give the quick elevator pitch of what Anime Talk is.
Awesome. Appreciate it. First of all, like I said, appreciate being on the show. Means a lot. I love jumping on shows like this. Like I said, I'm excited about that. Yeah, so like you said, my name is Matt St. Jack from Anime Talk. That's Anime Talk with an exclamation point. On my show, basically, I talk about like different rankings, different. I do like November Tournament of Power is huge. I just finished not too long ago, where I do like you know I guess fighting like brackets, tournament styles, ranking of different animes, different anime reviews, different movie reviews, like anything anime when it comes to like reviewing or like funny, um, funny like kind of I don't know interesting topics. I like to talk about it through anime. I just did one called what's anime. And so like where I kind of explain like the history of kind of anime. So anything that comes to like anything that has anything to do with anime, like it's right up my alley. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Everything anime all the time. Talk show, just me and my lovely voice, but that's what I do.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, the reason why I asked you on, I found you on Twitter. I saw that you do an anime show, and I listened to your top five. I guess it wasn't a top five; it was just five quirks that you really liked from My Hero Academia, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that episode. So I figured I'd ask you on for this month when we're covering My Hero.
I don't know, man. Hey, like I said, I'm excited to talk about it. That was a really dope episode. And I can't wait to, kind of share and kind of talk a little bit about that on this show. So
Yeah,
thanks for
man.
having me again.
Absolutely. And with that, we will get into our first segment. Basically, just talking about what it is. We actually, on the Nomads of Fantasy podcast, we covered season one of My Hero Academia. I made my other co hosts, Brandon and Dave, watch it. They're not, especially Dave, he's not the biggest anime fan, but I got him into it, and he likes like superhero stuff, Marvel stuff. So I got him into it, and he actually watched beyond season one. So I was really happy that I was able to introduce that to him. But yeah, if you're looking for that episode, I will link that in the video description on the YouTube version. But anyways, let's get right into what is My Hero Academia, or Boko no Hero Academia, as it is known in Japan. It was created by Horikoshi. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm terrible with pronunciations. Um,
I'm the same way. I'm the same, man.
the manga was created in 2014 with the anime adaptation following up in 2016. Matt, I just wanted to ask, are you a manga reader at all, or is it kind of strictly anime?
It just depends. Like I've only read a handful of mangas. I read what was it? The two that I know for a fact. I really enjoyed Gangsta. That was actually the first one that I bought. The first manga I bought was Gangsta. I read some Bleach. It just depends. Like I'm not a huge manga reader only
Mm-hmm.
because like if I get it, like I want a book. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
want to have like a physical copy versus like most people who read manga, they read it like online, and I'm like, if I'm gonna read it online, why not just watch the show?
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Long story short, yeah, I'm not much of a manga reader, but I do have some that I read. So
Yeah, I'm not. I'm pretty much strictly anime. I haven't really dipped my toes into manga that much. I've read a little bit of like Dragon Ball Super. I've wanted to get into My Hero just because I know that it's so far beyond what the anime has produced already. So, and I know there's some crazy stuff happening in the current story arcs and everything. But Yeah, I mostly just stick to anime as well. But I eventually want to get into some manga. I just don't have the time to really have the time these days to do it. Um, but anyways, getting back to My Hero, what it is. Basically, the world in My Hero Academia, about 80% of the world's population possess a quirk or basically just a superpower. Quirks can range from basically useless, weird powers to super overpowered ones. I was looking up some of the useless quirks, the most useless quirks in the My Hero Academia universe, and apparently Bakugo's parents, Bakugo's like one of the strongest characters in My Hero, one of the strongest heroes. He has his great power, explosive power, but his parents, apparently his mom, her power, her quirk is she secretes glycerin from her skin, which apparently keeps her skin really nice, looking nice. So that was one useless quirk. And his dad has the quirk of bendy fingers, and basically they can bend a little bit more than like your average person. So like there's these like crazy, there's super strength, there's all the regular kind of superpowers that you would expect with these quirks, but then there's just some really useless ones that are throughout the world. So I always like that. It's great world building. And people with the most powerful quirks can usually either go down the hero or the villain path. And most of these children will receive their quirk by age 4. And that's kind of where the main character of My Hero Academia that we follow comes in. His name is Izuku Midoriya, and he was born without superpowers. And it's kind of devastating to him because he idolized like the number one hero all his life. All Might is his name, and he wanted so desperately to be like All Might, and he was just utterly devastated when he realized that he didn't have a superpower. So that's kind of the basic baseline plot summary and everything. It ends up, if you've watched the show, it ends up that All Might eventually meets up with Midoriya, and he passes on his quirk, one for all, to Midoriya, and that is how Midoriya gains his superpowers. Was there anything that I missed there, Matt? Anything you wanted to add?
Oh, I think you did a really good job running that down. I thought that it was like very interesting though, like when they did the whole DNA thing about like his quirk and stuff, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know how this is going to go because anytime it always like I always think back to what is it? Because I love like Rick and Morty, but I always think back to that episode like the flu, where like he's like, yeah, I need. He's like, I just need your DNA, and Morty goes to pull down his pants, and he's like, no, I'll just take a hair sample. Like I don't need, I don't need that type of DNA. And so it always makes me laugh because when people say like, oh, like he gave him a piece of his DNA, and I'm like, okay, but it's not what you think. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it wasn't like he like did a blood transfusion or saying anything weird. It was just a piece of hair. But no, it was no. I think that you like I said. I think you set it up pretty good. I didn't know about Bakugo's parents.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. I think you would figure that they would have had kind of some strong quirks, but it makes sense that like she would like secrete glycerin from her
Yeah,
her body,
exactly.
considering the fact that Bakugo kind of does the same thing. So that's kind of cool to hear that he kind of gets that from her.
Right.
But yeah, as far as her, I mean, obviously, I don't know how weird or interesting you get on your show, but I mean, with Dad with bendy fingers, I mean, that's an interesting quirk
There's
too, I'm
some
sure
uses
for
for
her.
that.
So
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's useless to everybody else, but it's not. It doesn't sound like it's useless to many to
that's true.
everybody. So.
That's true,
But
man.
yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head, man. I love the quirks. I love some of the quirks that are in here, and I know we're going to get into that soon. But I love a lot of the quirks here, so
Yeah.
I'm down to move on, man.
Yeah, there's always like just in the background, like just you see background characters, random people, civilians and everything, and they're just like some of them look wild. Like there's just dog people, there's people that look like fire hydrants, it's cool. It's very creative, and that is kind of rolling into the next section of the show, which is the why we love it. yeah, all just the variety of quirks in the show is insane. Like we said, from bendy fingers to super strength to fire powers, water, like ice, all that stuff. Like there's so many different unique quirks throughout this world, and it's really cool.
Yeah. No, it's. I love the fact that like not only, and I was making sure because I was like I remember a lot of mine, but I couldn't remember everything. Like when you do a show, and I'm sure you probably deal with that too. Like there's so many shows that you
Oh
end up
yeah,
doing. I can't remember everybody who I who I say like quirks that I really love. But like one of my favorite ones, and I always talk about this, and I knew this one off of my head, but like permeation was really cool with Miro,
yeah.
with his like ability where he can like pretty much he basically like goes he becomes intangible, so you can't like touch him, but he can like go through walls. The
Mm-hmm.
only drawback to his is obviously when he doesn't have on his super gear, like he doesn't have on his super suit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has to be naked in order to use his ability because the clothes stop him from going through stuff. So that's kind of weird because that lets me know that like kind of like Invisible Girl, like she could be naked and nobody would know.
Right.
But you wouldn't even know like if he was there because I mean if he was naked, he could just be naked and you wouldn't see him. So that's kind of an interesting piece. But to your point, there's a lot of different quirks in here. Like I love like permeation was dope. I love decay is probably one of my other ones that I really love.
Yeah.
Just the simple fact that you can touch something, you know, and it just starts to just crumble. You know what I'm saying? It ages so fast. You know, that was kind of a quirk that I really liked. Racer is amazing, obviously. I mean,
One of
anytime
my
that you can use
favorites.
an ability, yeah, like anytime you can use an ability to like stop people from using their abilities, and I mean, he has like the cool,
Yeah.
like it makes me think about like Brett the Hitman Hart, like those old like '80s glasses or whatever. It's so freaking
Yeah,
childish.
man.
But yeah, so I love, like you said, I love the quirks. I love this. I love, and obviously you got to give a shout out to your boy Todoroki because Todoroki has probably some of the best quirks, hands down,
Oh yeah.
in this whole anime. So um, there's just so many different, like I said, there's so many different quirks, so many different, I don't know, like so many different combinations that you could think of. I guess that's one thing, and I've talked about this. I don't think I talked about it on my episode. Well, I did. I talked about quirk marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I wish that there were more. I wish that there were more like quirk marriages. Like I wish that there were more people who had like multiple quirks.
Yeah.
Like
That's I
not a
love that
lot of
concept.
them. Yeah, like not a lot of them. Like I don't want everybody to have one because then you could potentially run into somebody that's kind of OP. But like, and because I just talked about him, but like Todoroki, I absolutely love Todoroki. Fire, half ice. Everybody probably knows him. Everybody probably sees him. That's why I always go for the
Mm-hmm.
low hanging fruit, like the ones that everybody's seen. But like with him, I love the fact that even though you would think that he'd be OP because he can use fire and ice, like he has a major weakness where he can't use either one like too much because
Right.
if he
He's got
uses
to
his fire
balance
too
it.
much, he overheats. Yeah. If he uses fire too much, he overheats. If he uses his cold too much, he freezes. Like it like messes with his cells on the inside. He ends up like freezing himself. So I'm glad that they have like a checks and balance, but I wish that they did have a little bit more quirk marriage. But those are just some of the quirks that I
Mm-hmm.
really love. So
That kind of rolls into one of the other things that I love about the show is that how well we get to know each character throughout the show. Like you mentioned Todoroki and his dual fire and ice powers. Most of his life, he has suppressed the fire side of himself because his dad was pretty much abusive to him as a child. He just pushed him so hard, and when Todoroki came of age, he just completely rejected that side and embraced his ice side, which he's essentially handicapping himself, like cutting his power in half for the majority of his life. So yeah, like getting to know each character's backstories, like Bakugo. We get to see, he starts out, you just see him as this dick, but we do get to see some of the backstory of why he has like the motivations that he does, why he wants to be the best hero, the number one hero. He's always constantly saying that he's gonna, take down All Might and stuff. Like he's super ambitious, and like I feel like we really, really get to know each of these characters in the Class 1A throughout this entire series, which I love so much.
Yeah, for sure. And they did a really good, like you said, they did a really good job kind of explaining a lot of the backstories and like some of the background to the characters. And I like how like most shows when they do that, they do like a very abbreviated version.
Yeah, for
And I'm like,
sure.
okay, that's cool, but like here, like you kind of want to know a little bit more about them because if you don't get to know about the character, you don't understand how they tie into 1A or 1B, then you don't understand how they tie into the overall story. So I think they did a really good job of explaining, you know, like, hey, this is how I fit in. You don't have to give me like a whole episode,
Right.
but you know, just give me my moment to show you why I decided to become a hero in the first place, or why I decided to go down a path that I decided to go down, and then you know jump back into the episode. So they did a really good job on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we get like these random like stories of, each I think they do like one on almost every single character in class 1A.
Hmm.
Like we see Uraraka and her family, and we see Momo, like her parents are rich, she has all this pressure and everything. Like it's crazy how well we get to know them, and like there's so many characters in this show, but it really does feel like they spend enough time with each one of them and make them important in the story.
Yeah, I like Belly Button, the naval guy, the
Oh yeah,
naval
naval laser.
laser guy. Yeah, like I'm like, dude, like that is first of all, that's the weirdest power ever. Like it's so strange, but it always kills me, like, because when he uses it too much, when he ends up throwing it up, they always have like the rainbow that like comes out of his mouth, and
Yeah,
I'm like, why do y'all have this guy? Like, I get it, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, you know, there's a market, you know what I'm saying, for the way that he is, and I
right.
completely respect it. But I'm like, why? I was like, but why? Like, he has strength. It's just he just can't use his laser too much, and
Yep.
that's gotta suck. Like, I can imagine because he's like he uses every time he uses it, he's basically emptying his stomach. So I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm sure he's like super hungry right after.
That is,
But yeah,
that brings up another thing. Like it's not like everybody is super overpowered. They have to develop their quirks. Most quirks, if not all, have like adverse side effects or like a downside to them. Like you said, belly button laser. If you use it too much, he gets a stomach ache. With all for one or one for all for one. I always get those confused. One for all Midoriya's powers. Um,
mhm.
if he, we see in the beginning he can barely control it because it's so powerful. He can't even contain it within his body. And like, it's really cool how they balance, so they don't make everybody so overpowered. It's not like even if you're born with a quirk at birth, you still have to train it and foster it and learn how to use it, which I thought is really cool. You don't see that in most superhero stories,
Yeah.
and pop culture Americanized versions. They just kind of, okay, you have the superpower, like Superman. He has his superpowers, and that's pretty much it. Like he doesn't have
Yep.
to figure out how to use them or get better at using them. His powers are his powers. But here we get to see people develop their quirks, and we see like mutations with their quirks, and like how they gain different powers and everything. Like it's really cool. It's really cool that the way that they handled that.
Yeah, I mean, you have a whole class that's dedicated literally to just being support. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another aspect that I really love about this show. And I know, like you said, I know there's some points that we're going to kind of talk through and things like that. I don't want to hijack the show, but to me, that's like a huge part of it because like those like the support characters, like you said, to your point, nobody like it's like Batman, right? We know that Batman has all of these, and Batman is not a superhero. I would
Right.
say that he's a hero. But I mean, even with him, we know that he has all of these, you know, Batmobiles and Batcopter and plane and all this other stuff. But nobody sits down and talks about who built that stuff. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, nobody talks about who built it, who maintained. Well, we know Alfred somewhat maintains it, but there's no way that he maintains all of that by himself.
Right.
So I think that it's really cool in this show. They have a whole class of support, and I like how, especially like now coming up to the new season, you're starting to see a lot of these heroes and a lot of these kids use equipment that was made by people that are in support classes. I
Yeah.
think that that's
Exactly.
really cool because it shows like, hey, even though we don't have abilities so much over here, like on our side, like in the support class,
Mm-hmm.
we still contribute to society and still have just as a prominent role as anybody else. Like, and to your point, like even with Eraser, it's really cool now the where he's mentoring and teaching like the next generation to use even just like his scarf.
Mm-hmm.
Like we thought, like, I remember like looking at his
That's
scarf
so
and I was like,
cool.
dude, this is why this guy was walking around with like this scarf. But it's a vital part of him being able to use his quirk. So it's awesome just
Right.
to see like how they interact, how everybody's abilities interact with everybody's everybody's abilities, and then how the support cast is and how they don't just use their strength, they use intelligence, they use like different pieces of themselves, you know what I mean, like I said, the
Yeah.
scarf or the different quirks and stuff, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, you don't think about that stuff. I feel like in other superhero fiction, they don't really bother to mention like, oh, how did the Flash get his suit? How come his suit lets him, it doesn't burn up when he's running super fast? In My Hero,
Yep.
they kind of go into all this stuff of the technology behind all the different equipment and everything, and how the equipment actually supports their quirk and like improves it, and they can use it to their benefit. So yeah, it's such a cool attention to detail that you really don't see in other superhero stories.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like the last kind of part of it is just the story itself. Just Midoriya's main story that it follows is really cool, really special. Like we said before, he gains his quirk from All Might, and we see the struggles and like trials and tribulations that come with it. And like there's throughout the series, there's just like some super emotional moments. Even like the first episode when he does get the quirk and everything, like I was in tears, like because I know how much that meant to him and how much
Yep.
he wanted it throughout. That's the only thing he ever wanted in his life, was to be a hero, and now he has the opportunity to do that, and so that definitely got to me.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, and to your point, like even with that show, and it's crazy because I mean, I was doing some research on a show that I'm getting ready to come up with, so I got Todoroki literally up in the background, so I was happy about that when you were talking about it. But to your point, like, first of all, like if like you said with Midori, like he had to literally train his body because
Hmm.
All Might told him that like if you don't train your body and if you don't do this, then you're not going to be able to inherit my quirk. So you have to prepare your vessel
Right.
before I can even give you this ability because this is how strong it is. And like I said, they do like you said, they do a really good job. I'm a huge stickler about watching an anime that somehow connects to me or connects with me, and so to your point, like just watching this show, all the emotional moments that, like you said, figuring out what Midoriya trying to use his ability with Totoro, like everybody says, and I hate that I'm only talking about Todoroki because obviously there's a lot of characters in this show that deserve that love, like,
Yeah,
but
Todoroki's one of the best.
Todoroki has, dude, he had like first of all, this show honestly, I mean, it exists because of Deku,
Hmm.
but realistically, like you could do a spinoff, and I feel like Todoroki could have his own show.
Dude, yeah, there
But
was a stretch in season 5 there where they just showed like his family dynamic and
just him,
everything.
yeah,
Like I love those
yeah,
episodes.
yeah. And that's what I was going to say is like even when you got into that arc, to hear and to see the emotion that was behind the relationship with him and his dad, the relationship with his dad and his
Hmm.
mom, like literally, I mean, and I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but literally the way that even just the relationship that his mom and his dad even had, like
Hmm.
the dynamic that they had, like, dude, there were so many emotional moments, like his brother and his sister, how they felt about the whole situation. There was just so much going on, and like you even started to feel bad, or I know I even started to feel bad for the main bad guy at that time,
Yeah, Shigaraki.
Shiragaki.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, dude, like I feel so bad for you. Like
Dude, yeah.
literally, you were in the worst situation ever, and all you wanted was a hero or somebody to come and help you. Like you were
Dude,
so
I
downtrodden
know.
in a world where 80% of people have quirks. Like, and heroes are prevalent. Like they literally are on the street just walking because there's so many heroes
Hmm.
here. You needed help, and nobody was there for you. You know what I mean? So it's just like you said, there are just some emotional moments here, and I'm just like, dude, that just I don't know. It definitely pulls at the heartstrings, and they do it in a really, really, really good way. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
definitely some emotional moments there.
yeah, definitely. Like you said, connecting with the anime, like on an emotional level, is super important to me. That's definitely influenced by for my love for it. And like this show specifically is pretty important to me in my love of anime because like it was kind of the one that really really like propelled me into the world of anime. Like I've loved Dragon Ball Z all my life. Like Dragon Ball has been like my main thing. I've loved it so much since I was like 6 7 years old. But
Yeah.
other than that, I completely like kind of turned my nose up at anime like throughout my teenage years and everything. I was like, it's lame. I don't really want to watch it, blah, 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 blah. But Dragon Ball Z is cool, Like, I was one of those kids, like, oh, yeah, all other anime besides Dragon Ball Z is lame. But then,
Yeah.
like, I watched My Hero and I'm like, holy shit, like, this is just incredible. Like, this one is super special to me because this really was, like, the catalyst for my love of anime.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Not, and I mean, obviously, welcome to the fold. I'm not the gatekeeper. Obviously, there are a lot of people who watch more shows than I
Oh,
do,
yeah,
but
definitely.
I completely understand. To your point, there are some shows, and I had an episode on my show where I talked about that about the stigma and the way
Mm-hmm.
that people think about anime, and I'm like, dude, like once you if you could actually get into a show, and I have a show coming up, it's probably gonna be next season, but I have a show coming up where I'm basically gonna talk about shows that kind of get you hooked in the first episode. If you give anime like a chance and you find a show that you really relate to,
Yes.
like for me, like you said, I love a good relationship in anime. I don't like the overly like saturated relationships,
Mm-hmm.
but if you give me like a subtle relationship, like I love that. Give me some good music, give me some character development, give me some a character that I can relate to. If you give me those things in anime, like there are certain animes out there that do such an amazing job of that.
Yeah,
That
man.
to your point, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's just this, or it's just a cartoon, or it's just this. But then you
Exactly.
find that one, like you find that one, and you hold on to that one, and then before you know it, I have friends that I've done that too. Like I'm like, check this out, or check this out. I think you might like, and then
Mm-hmm.
they bite on, and I'm like, now what do you like? And they're like, oh, well, I
Right.
like Hunter X Hunter. I'm like, yes, Hunter X Hunter
Oh
is
my
this. Like
God,
you can
so
watch
good.
this, you can watch this, you can watch this, and before you know it, now they're like, at least if even if they're not like huge nerds like I am, like I watch anime, like I literally am watching probably like 6 shows right now, like
Mm-hmm.
rotating between them. But like even if they never get to that point, just the simple fact that they find one, two, maybe three anime that they really like, and they're just like, you know what, Matt, thanks. Like I'm like, yo, that's and I tell people all the time, that's literally what my show is all about.
Dude,
Let me put you on one show. Let me talk about one
I love
show,
that.
and if
Yeah.
you get hooked, I'm good with it. So
Yeah, cuz yeah, like you said, this was that for me. This was the one. And like now that I'm into it, like I'm into it. And I'm sort of mad at my like teenage self for thinking, following that stigma just cuz it was like years of wasted time where I could have been watching anime. Like it's just so I feel like I missed out on so many things, but now that I'm into it, I'm so glad that I am. But yeah, I feel like that pretty much covers the why of it, of why we love it. I think we definitely covered that. So let's get to the last section. We kind of were talking about this a little bit, but basically, who would we recommend this to if they've never seen it or, never, like you said, haven't given anime a try because of the stigma or basically anything like that. I think the easy one for me on My Hero, especially, is just fans of superheroes. If you like superhero stories, if you like Marvel, if you like DC, especially if you like X-Men, like this, the easiest comparison to My Hero is X-Men,
yeah,
because it's a school of like mutants of people with weird superpowers, and they're all kind of bonding and figuring out how to use them and everything. That
that's true.
right there, like that's your ticket in. Yeah, like fans of Dragon Ball Z, just speaking for myself, or pretty much any shonen anime in general, like this is probably one of the best examples in my opinion. Yeah, what about you, Matt? Who would you recommend My Hero Academia to?
I agree with everything you said. Like you said, the superheroes, anyone that loves any shonen, uh, shows or anything like that. Like you said, Dragon Ball Z. I would say anyone. Like I think that this show is specifically set up for anyone who has like that. You, and I know you probably, maybe you remember, maybe you had this conversation or when you were younger, right? You know how
Hmm.
people always ask that question, like, man, if you could have any superpower, what would you want?
Yeah, that's
Or what would you
yes.
have? Like, if you've ever answered that question, like ever,
Hmm.
and whether it was invisibility, because I always said invisibility, but I only want to do it because I want to cause some mischief. But even if but if you ever answered that question, whether it was flight, whether it was laser eyes, whether it was claws or whatever it was, if you ever answered that question, this show is for you because I guarantee you, in some way, shape, or form, one of that power that you wanted, you actually get to see. Like,
Hmm.
and once you get to see it, it's like, you know what? That was for me. You know what I mean? Or this character is the one that I like now. So I would say it's anybody who ever had that thought and was just like, man, I wonder what this ability would be like. Watch this show because it has it there.
Yeah, man, that's perfect. If you are listening to this and you've never seen My Hero, I mean, I'm glad that you're listening, and I hope that we convinced you to watch it because it's such a fantastic anime. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, I feel like that kind of brings us to the end here. We'll just wrap up really quick. Matt, let's hear some plugs. Where can people find you? If they want to find the show, if they want to find you on social media, all that good stuff.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So first of all, like I said, I appreciate you having me on again. As you guys, if you're looking at, if they're seeing my video, which I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
they
man.
are, this is
Yep.
my T-shirt. So this is
Beautiful
Anime Talk with
t-shirt.
Matt St. Jack. If you see that logo anywhere, then that's me. So make sure that you drop a follow. But you can find me on Instagram and Twitter are my two main platforms that I'm on right now. At Anime Talk 12. That's Anime Talk the number one and two, so like 12 together. You can find me on there. If you're listening like anywhere that you get your podcast, your Bullfrog or a Bullhorn or Apple or Google, Spotify, anywhere that you get your podcast fix. I'm even on iHeartRadio, so even if you're on
Oh,
iHeartRadio and
sweet.
stuff like that, yeah, make sure that you guys follow me. It's Anime Talk, like I said, with an exclamation point. So it's Anime Space Talk with an exclamation point. It's a purple background. Looks very like Vapor Max, Vapor Wave, retro-ish.
That's cool. I
And like I
love
said,
it.
it has this little logo. So yeah, like I said, drop a follow. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to hear something or whatever, I'm always down to interact with my fans. So make sure that you, like I said, you can find me on those social media handles.
Awesome, man. And I will put all of those links that you just said in the description of the video and the podcast. And I just want to say, Matt, thank you so much for joining me. This was a really fun talk. I always love talking about My Hero Academia and anime in general. So I'm really glad you got the chance to join me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, I appreciate being on, man. Any opportunity that I get to talk about some anime is a great day, man. And I can't wait to jump back on if you need me at any time. So
Yep.
thank you for you, and thank you for your listeners, man.
Yeah, yep, we do this monthly, so I will be sure to reach out to you again in the future.
For sure.
And if you want to find us on social media, we're at Nomads of Fantasy on Instagram and Twitter. You could find us on YouTube, pretty much any podcast platform, the nomadsoffantasy.com, or email us nomadsoffantasy@gmail.com. And with that, we are out. And as always, safe travels, nomads.
Peace.